If a man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it from him. Having been poor is no shame, but being ashamed of it is. Never ruin an apology with an excuse. Whatever is begun in anger ends in shame. If you would know the value of money, go and try to borrow some. Time is money. I didn't fail the test. I just found 100 ways to do it wrong. You may delay, but time will not. Love your enemies, for they tell you you're false. There are 3 faithful friends, an old wife, an old dog, and ready money. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. Well done is better than well said. Many people die at 25 and aren't buried until they are 75. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. No gains without pains. Life's biggest tragedy is that we get old too soon and wise too late. One today is worth 2 tomorrows. Laziness travels so slowly that poverty soon overtakes him. Rather go to bed without dinner than to rise in debt. At 20 years of age, the will reigns. At 30, the wit. And at 40, the judgment. Never leave till tomorrow that which you can do today. To succeed, jump as quickly at opportunities as you do at conclusions. Lost time is never found again. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Where there is marriage without love, there will be love without marriage. Haste makes waste. 3 may keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. He that lies down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. To find out a girl's faults, praise her to her girlfriends. Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that's the stuff life is made of. Educate your children to self-control, to the habit of holding passion and prejudice and evil tendencies subject to an upright and reasoning will, and you have done much to abolish misery from their future and crimes from society. Keep your eyes wide open before marriage, half shut afterwards. We do not stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Work as if you were to live 1,000 years. Play as if you were to die tomorrow. Contentment makes poor men rich. Discontent makes rich men poor. Vice knows that he is ugly, so he puts on a mask. He that displays too often his wife and his wallet is in danger of having both of them borrowed. Fatigue is the best pillow. The discontented man finds no easy chair. Buy what thou hast no seed of, and ere long thou shalt sell thy necessities. You will find the key to success under the alarm clock. Either write something worth reading, or do something worth writing. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Tell me, and I forgot. Teach me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I learn. He that can have patience can have what he will. A penny saved is a penny earned. In wine there is wisdom. In beer there is freedom. In water there is bacteria. We are all born ignorant, but one must work hard to remain stupid. Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. Fear not death, for the sooner we die, the longer we shall be immortal. Wine is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. It is the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. Instead of cursing the darkness, light a candle. If all printers were determined not to print anything till they were sure it would offend nobody, there would be very little printed. Be at war with your vices, at peace with your neighbors, and let every new year find you a better man. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Never confuse motion with action. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the mouth of a wise man is in his heart. There was never a bad peace or a good war. Be slow in choosing a friend, slower in changing. We must all hang together, or assuredly we shall all hang separately. When you are finished changing, you're finished. When you're testing to see how deep water is, never use 2 feet. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. A slip of the foot you may soon recover, but a slip of the tongue you may never get over. Happiness depends more on the inward disposition of mind than on outward circumstances. Do not trust your money to a person who likes to count other people's money. Be civil to all, sociable to many, familiar with few, friend to one, enemy to none. If a man could have half of his wishes, he would double his troubles. Speak ill of no man, but speak all the good you know of everybody. If you want to be rich, learn not only to earn, but also to be economical. The way to see by faith is to shut the eye of reason. A house is not a home unless it contains food and fire for the mind as well as the body. Security without liberty is called prison. Those things that hurt instruct. Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hope for. He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing. Of all the means to ensure happiness throughout the whole life, by far the most important is the acquisition of friends. Death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not here. And when it does come, we no longer exist. You don't develop courage by being happy in your relationships every day. You develop it by surviving difficult times and challenging adversity. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. It is not so much our friends' help that helps us, as the confident knowledge that they will help us. The art of living well and the art of dying well are one. The fool's life is empty of gratitude and full of fears. Its course lies wholly toward the future. Nothing is sufficient for the person who finds sufficiency too little. Pleasure is the beginning and end of a happy life. The greatest fruit of justice is serenity. Knowing your flaws is the first step to health. It is better for you to be free of fear lying upon a pallet than to have a golden couch and a rich table and be full of trouble. Be moderate in order to taste the joys of life in abundance. There is nothing terrible in life for someone who truly understands that there is nothing terrible in non-life. The greater the difficulty, the more the glory in surmounting it. He who least needs tomorrow will most gladly greet tomorrow. The time when you should most of all withdraw into yourself is when you are forced to be in a crowd. Let no one delay the study of philosophy while young, nor weary of it when old. The most important consequence of self-sufficiency is freedom. We should look for someone to eat and drink with before looking for something to eat and drink. Of all the things which wisdom acquires to produce the blessedness of the complete life, for the greatest is the possession of friendship. If a person fights the clear evidence of his senses, he will never be able to share in genuine tranquility. If thou wilt make a man happy, add not unto his riches, but take away from his desires. If you shape your life according to nature, you will never be poor. If according to people's opinions, you will never be rich. Contented poverty is an honorable estate. Therefore, foolish is the man who says that he fears death, not because it will cause pain when it arrives, but because anticipation of it is painful. Don't spoil the impression of what you have by wanting what you don't have. To get great pleasure, you need to limit yourself. The life of a fool is bleak and full of fear, because he puts everything aside for the future. Do not avoid doing small services. They will think that you are also capable of big ones. It is better for you to be unhappy right away than being happy without reason. Happiness is the repression of suffering and anxiety. Don't even dare trust a wife that says you're always right. In old age, we all regret not having killed laziness in ourselves. Do not marry after 40, because marriage is not provided by nature. Admonition instead of hate. Smile instead of contempt. Every man's life ends the same way. It is only the details of how he lived and how he died that distinguish one man from another. There are so many women with whom you can sleep, and so few women with whom you can talk. Courage is grace under pressure. They wrote in the old days that it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. But in modern war, there is nothing sweet nor fitting in your dying. You will die like a dog for no good reason. The world breaks every one, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. Fear of death increases in exact proportion to increase in wealth. The human being is the only animal that can laugh, even though he has least occasions for that. Worry a little bit every day, and in a lifetime you will lose a couple of years. If something is wrong, fix it if you can. But train yourself not to worry. Worry never fixes anything. There is no lonelier man in death than that man who has lived many years with a good wife and then outlived her. If two people love each other, there can be no happy end to it. I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen. I love to go to the zoo, but not on Sunday. I don't like to see the people making fun of the animals, when it should be the other way around. There is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. Life isn't hard to manage when you've nothing to lose. Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with that there is. The thing is to become a master in your old age, to acquire the courage to do what children did when they knew nothing. Going to another country doesn't make any difference. I've tried all that. You can't get away from yourself by moving from one place to another. There's nothing to that. No, that is the great fallacy, the wisdom of old men. They do not grow wise. They grow careful. So far about morals, I only know that what is moral is what you feel good after, and what is immoral is what you feel bad after. Women made such swell friends, awfully swell. In the first place, you had to be in love with a woman to have a basis of friendship. All thinking men are atheists. Never think that war, no matter how necessary, nor how justified, is not a crime. There is no friend as loyal as a book. But man is not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated. Never confuse movement with action. A cat has absolute emotional honesty. Human beings, for one reason or another, may hide their feelings, but a cat does not. There's no one thing that's true. It's all true. Never go on trips with anyone you do not love. If you are lucky enough to have lived in Paris as a young man, then wherever you go for the rest of your life, it stays with you, for Paris is a movable feast. Write hard and clear about what hurts. In order to write about life, first you must live it. When you love, you wish to do things for. You wish to sacrifice for. You wish to serve. The first and final thing you have to do in this world is to last it and not be smashed by it. All things truly wicked start from innocence. The hard part about writing a novel is finishing it. We are all broken. That's how the light gets in. When you start to live outside yourself, it's all dangerous. Everyone behaves badly, given the chance. The real reason for not committing suicide is because you always know how swell life gets again after the hell is over. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. The world is a fine place and worth fighting for, and I hate very much to leave it. You're unsettled about your appearance because you're not sure of yourself. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself because it's your feature, exactly what makes you, you. The one who forgave the betrayal is waiting for a new betrayal. There isn't always an explanation for everything. If a man isn't looking for friends, then he is his own enemy. Wine is a grand thing. It makes you forget all the bad. The most painful thing is losing yourself in the process of loving someone too much and forgetting that you are special too. Be afraid of a friend who often says flattery to you. To flatter means to tell a person exactly what he thinks about himself. If you don't have obvious enemies, then they are hiding among your friends. An intelligent man is something forced to be drunk to spend time with his fools. Work every day, no matter what has happened the day or night before. Get up and bite on the nail. There are many who do not know they are fascists, but will find it out when the time comes. Prose is architecture, not interior decoration. All cowardice comes from not truly loving, or at least not loving well. Every day is a new day. It is better to be lucky, but I would rather be exact. Then when luck comes, you are ready. Perhaps one did not want to be loved so much as to be understood. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Every generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it, and wiser than the one that comes after it. The best books are those that tell you what you know already. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which. But if thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one mind simultaneously and accepting both of them. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give an appearance of solidity to pure wind. Until they become conscious, they will never rebel. And until after they have rebelled, they cannot become conscious. In the face of pain, there are no heroes. power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing. If you love someone, you loved him. And when you had nothing else to give, you still gave him love. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4. If that is granted, all else follows. It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words. The essence of being human is that one does not seek perfection. The choice for mankind lies between freedom and happiness, and for the great bulk of mankind, happiness is better. Orthodoxy means not thinking, not needing to think. Orthodoxy is unconsciousness. Nothing was your own except the few cubic centimeters inside your skull. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. On the whole, human beings want to be good, but not too good, and not quite all the time. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. The only good human being is a dead one. Sanity is not statistical. Confession is not betrayal. What you say or do doesn't matter. Only feelings matter. Men can only be happy when they do not assume that the object of life is happiness. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. All the war propaganda, all the screaming and lies and hatred, comes invariably from people who are not fighting. We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. There was truth, and there was untruth. And if you clung to the truth, even against the whole world, you were not mad. Your worst enemy is your own nervous system. At any moment, the tension inside you was liable to translate itself into some visible symptom. Man serves the interests of no creature except himself. Let's face it, our lives are miserable, laborious, and short. If people cannot write well, they cannot think well. And if they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. To see what it is in front of one's nose needs constant struggle. In philosophy or religion, or ethics or politics, 2 and 2 might make 5. But when one was designing a gun or an aeroplane, they had to make 4. If you kept the small rules, you could break the big ones. The greatest enemy of clear language is insincerity. Every war, when it comes, or before it comes, is represented not as a war, but as an act of self-defense against a homicidal maniac. If you want to keep a secret, you must also hide it from yourself. Can you not understand that liberty is worth more than just ribbons? We are all capable of believing things which we know to be untrue, and then, when we are finally proved wrong, impudently twisting the facts so as to show that we were right. We are the dead. Our only true life is in the future. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. The consequences of every act are included in the act itself. A person is lying to you if he says that he is honest with you. If there really is such a thing as turning in one's grave, Shakespeare must be getting a lot of exercise. If both the past and the external world exist only in the mind, and if the mind itself is controllable, what then? It is curious how people take it for granted that they have a right to preach at you and pray over you as soon as your income falls below a certain level. All men are enemies. All animals are comrades. Some ideas are so stupid that only intellectuals believe them. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Of all things, I liked books best. The scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. If your hate could be turned into electricity, it would light up the whole world. Our virtues and our failings are inseparable, like force and matter. When they separate, man is no more. Life is, and will ever remain, an equation incapable of solution, but it contains certain known factors. We crave for new sensations, but soon become indifferent to them. The wonders of yesterday are today common occurrences. What one man calls God, another calls the laws of physics. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The individual is ephemeral. Races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. Our brain has very sensitive nerve cells, which allow us to feel the truth, even when it is not yet available. Time will judge us. Most persons are so absorbed in the contemplation of the outside world that they are wholly oblivious to what is passing on within themselves. Inventors don't have time for married life. Great moments are born great opportunity. The action of even the smallest creature leads to changes in the entire universe. As I review the events of my past life, I realize how subtle are the influences that shape our destinies. We are all one. Only egos, beliefs, and fears separate us. When natural inclination develops into a passionate desire, one advances towards his goal in 7-league boots. In continuous loneliness, the mind becomes sharper and sharper. Ideas are born in the absence of influence on the mind of external efforts. A new idea must not be judged by its immediate results. One's salvation could only be brought about through his own efforts. To know each other, we must reach beyond the sphere of our sense perceptions. My belief is firm in the law of compensation. The true rewards are ever in proportion to the labor and sacrifices made. The hard work of the future will be pushing buttons. Intuition is something that is ahead of accurate knowledge. There is nothing that could attract human attention and deserve to be a subject of study than nature. To understand a huge mechanism of nature, to discover its creative forces, and to understand its laws, this is the greatest goal of the human mind. How many people called me a dreamer, how our deluded myopic world scoffed at my ideas. I guess I'll keep going until I drop dead. The great mysteries of our existence have yet to be solved. Even death may not be the end. A wise man should not marry, because no one can serve books and wife alike. The secret to being creative alone. Ideas are born in loneliness. Avoid sex in old age. After it comes to kissing, and then talking. The most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. My works are like water. The works of the great masters are like wine, but everyone drinks water. Of all the animals, man is the only one that is cruel. He is the only one that inflicts pain for the pleasure of doing it. Man was made at the end of the week's work, when God was tired. Be careful about reading health books. You may die of a misprint. The noblest work of God, man. Who found it out? Man. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. The truth must be served like a coat and not thrown in the face like a wet towel. Circumstances make man, not man's circumstances. The average human being is a perverse creature, and when he isn't that, he is a practical joker. Let us live so that when we come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry. Everyone is a moon and has a dark side which he never shows to anybody. Clothes make the man. Naked people have little or no influence in society. There are no people who are quite so vulgar as the over-refined ones. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is the principal difference between a dog and man. Concerning the difference between man and the jackass, some observers hold that there isn't any. Such is the human race. Often it does seem such a pity that Noah didn't miss the boat. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. Man will do many things to get himself loved. He will do all things to get himself envied. Wrinkles should merely indicate where the smiles have been. Adam and Eve had many advantages, but the principal one was that they escaped teething. Some civilized women would lose half their charm without dress, and some would lose all of it. One frequently only finds out how really beautiful a beautiful woman is after considerable acquaintance with her. There is only one good sex, the female one. It takes much to convince the average man of anything, and perhaps nothing can ever make him realize that he is the average woman's inferior. No civilization can be perfect until exact equality between men and women is included. Take any type of woman, and you will find in it something to respect, something to admire, something to love. We lavish gifts upon children, but the most precious gift, our personal association, which means so much to them, we give grudgingly. A baby is an inestimable blessing and bother. After all these years, I see that I was mistaken about Eve in the beginning. It is better to live outside the garden with her than inside it without her. When you fish for love, bait with your heart, not your brain. You can't reason with your heart. It has its own laws and thumps about things which the intellect scorns. No woman or man really knows what perfect love is until they have been married a quarter of a century. Do right, and you will be conspicuous. A man should not be without morals. It is better to have bad morals than none at all. Be good, and you will be lonesome. Better a broken promise than none at all. I am an old man, and have known a great many troubles. but most of them never happened. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Kindness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence. Then success is sure. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. A banker is a fellow who lends you his umbrella when the sun is shining, but wants it back the minute it begins to rain. The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. To get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. Virtue has never been as respectable as money. Few things are harder to put up with than the annoyance of a good example. Nothing so needs reforming as other people's habits. A man may have no bad habits and have worse. We can secure other people's approval if we do it right and try hard. But our own is worth 100 of it, and no way has been found out of securing that. Always obey your parents when they are present. This is the best policy in the long run, because if you don't, they will make you. The human race has only one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. A sin takes on new and real terrors when there seems a chance that it is going to be found out. The more things are forbidden, the more popular they become. In order to make a man or a boy covet a thing, it is only necessary to make the thing difficult to attain. Only 2 things we'll regret on deathbed: that we are a little loved and little traveled. Always acknowledge fault frankly. This will throw those in authority off guard and give you an opportunity to make a choice. Conscience takes up more room than all the rest of a person's insides. There are several good protections against temptations, but the surest is cowardice. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Eat a live frog first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. Never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. There are not enough morally brave men in stock. We are out of moral courage material. To believe yourself brave is to be brave. It is better to deserve honors and not have them than to have them and not deserve them. When people do not respect us, we are sharply offended. Yet in his private heart, no man respects himself much. Human pride is not worthwhile. There is always something lying in wait to take the wind out of it. By trying, we can easily learn to endure adversity. Man will do many things to get himself loved. He will do all things to get himself envied. The universal brotherhood of man is our most precious possession, what there is of it. When I was younger, I could not remember anything, whether it had happened or not. But my faculties are decaying now, and soon I shall be, so I cannot remember any but the things that never happened. It is sad to go to pieces like this, but we all have to do it. Noise proves nothing. Often a hen who has laid an egg cackles as if she had laid an asteroid. Loyalty to petrified opinions never yet broke a chain or freed a human soul. There is no character, howsoever good and fine, but it can be destroyed by ridicule, however poor and witless. The secret source of humor itself is not joy but sorrow. Chastity, it can be carried too far. Modesty died when clothes were born. Honesty, the best of all the lost arts. Each race determines for itself what indecencies are. Nature knows no indecencies. Man invents them. When angry, count to 4. When very angry, swear. We begin to swear before we can talk. In certain trying circumstances, urgent circumstances, desperate circumstances, profanity furnishes a relief denied even to prayer. Grief can take care of itself, but to get full value of a joy, you must have somebody to divide it with. Loyalty to country always. Loyalty to government when it deserves it. Be careless in your dress if you must, but keep a tidy soul. Prosperity is the best protector of principle. One of the proofs of the immortality of the soul is that myriads have believed in it. They have also believed the world was flat. If I cannot swear in heaven, I shall not stay there. There is no sadder sight than a young pessimist. It is a wise child that knows its own father, and an unusual one that unreservedly approves of him. The man who is a pessimist before 48 knows too much. If he is an optimist after it, he knows too little. At $0, a man can be an ass without being an optimist, but not an optimist without being an ass. Buy land, they're not making it anymore. Pessimist, the optimist who didn't arrive. A person with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. Whatever a man's age, he can reduce it by several years by putting a bright-colored flower in his buttonhole. We have permanent habits until we are 40. Then they begin to harden. Presently, they petrify. Then business begins. We should be careful to get out of an experience only the wisdom that is in it, and stop there. Whoever has lived long enough to find out what life is knows how deep a debt of gratitude we owe to Adam, the first great benefactor of our race. He brought death into the world. The lack of money is the root of all evil. When in doubt, tell the truth. All say, "How hard is it that we have to die?" A strange complaint coming from the mouths of people who have had to live. Truth is the most valuable thing we have. Let us economize it. Giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I know, because I've done it thousands of times. No real gentleman will tell the naked truth in the presence of the ladies. Honesty is the best policy when there is money in it. Some people lie when they tell the truth. I tell the truth, lying. As by the fire of experience, so by commission of crime, you learn real morals. I never could tell a lie that anyone would doubt, nor a truth that anyone would believe. An honest man in politics shines more than he would elsewhere. When your friends begin to flatter you on how young you look, it's a sure sign you're getting old. A lie can travel halfway around the world, while the truth is putting its shoes on. One of the striking differences between a cat and a lie is that a cat has only 9 lives. A truth is not hard to kill. A lie told well is immortal. Do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring the habit of doing your duty without pain. There are 869 different forms of lying, but only one of them has been squarely forbidden. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. I can't stand George Eliot and Hawthorne and those people. I see what they are at 100 years before they get to it, and they just tire me to death. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. I have made it a rule never to smoke more than 1 cigar at a time. It is the little conveniences that make the real comfort of life. 24 years ago, I was strangely handsome, the remains of it still visible through the rifts of time. To be busy is man's only happiness. The exercise of an extraordinary gift is the supremest pleasure in life. Do not put off till tomorrow what can be put off till day after tomorrow just as well. There are people who can do all fine and heroic things but one: keep from telling their happiness to the unhappy. Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. There is no such thing as a new joke. When red-headed people are above a certain social grade, their hair is auburn. It is human to exaggerate the merits of the dead. The man with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. Thunder is good. Thunder is impressive. But it is the lightning that does the work. I like a good story well told. That is the reason I am sometimes forced to tell them myself. Unexpected money is a delight. The same sum is a bitterness when you expect more. Men always want to be a woman's first love. Women like to be a man's last romance. We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessities. Always forgive your enemies, because nothing annoys them so much. Truth, indeed, is a thing that is most painful to listen to and most painful to utter. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. True friends stab you in the front. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. The one charm of the past is that it is in the past. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions. Their lives a mimicry. Their passions a quotation. Only the shallow know themselves. Women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. The only difference between the saint and the sinner is that every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. The terror of society, which is the basis of morals, the terror of God, which is the secret of religion, these are the two things that govern us. Experience is one thing you can't get for nothing. To get back to one's youth, one has merely to repeat one's follies. Experience is merely the name men gave to their mistakes. Each man lived his own life and paid his own price for living it. Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. You can never be overdressed or overeducated. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. I can resist everything except temptation. Crying is for plain women Pretty women go shopping. Suddenly, at some moment in our lives, we understand that we are no longer the actors, but the spectators. When one is in love, one always begins by deceiving oneself, and one always ends by deceiving others. That is what the world calls a romance. The truth is merely pure and never simple. Anybody can sympathize with the sufferings of a friend, but it requires a very fine nature to sympathize with a friend's success. If men married the women we deserved, we would have a very bad time of it. A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction. I like men who have a future and women who have a past. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. I choose my friends for their good looks, my acquaintances for their good characters, and my enemies for their good intellects. The harmony of the soul and body, how much that is. We in our madness have separated the two and have invented a realism that is vulgar, an ideality that is void. Ridicule the tribute paid to the genius by the mediocrities. Men marry because they are tired, women because they are curious. Both are disappointed. Between men and women, there is no friendship possible. There is passion, enmity, worship, love, but no friendship. You don't love someone for their looks, or their clothes, or their fancy car, but because they sing a song only you can hear. Everything in moderation, including moderation. You will always be loved, and you will always be in love with love. A grand passion is the privilege of people who have nothing to do. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. The basis of every scandal is an immoral certainty. You are not young enough to know everything. When I was young, I thought that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I am old, I know that it is. There is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. One can always be kind to people about whom one cares nothing. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If a man treats life artistically, his brain is his heart. If you wish to understand others, you must intensify your own individualism. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does. That's his. The form of government that is most suitable to the artist is no government at all. Ordinary riches can be stolen. Real riches cannot. In your soul are infinitely precious things that cannot be taken from you. To become the spectator of one's own life is to escape the suffering of life. The only reason one should never marry is because one should always be in love. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Let nothing be lost upon you. Be always searching for new sensations. Be afraid of nothing. Art is the most intense mode of individualism that the world has known. Sooner or later, we have to pay for what we do. Making a useful thing, as long as he does not admire it. The only excuse for making a useless thing is that one admires it intensely. To get into the best society, one has either to feed people, amuse people, or shock people. The past is what man should not have been. The present is what man ought not to be. The future is what artists are. The old believe everything. The middle-aged suspect everything. The young know everything. Nothing should be out of the reach of hope. Life is hope. The true mystery of the world is the visible, not the invisible. It is a curious fact that people are never so trivial as when they take themselves seriously. One should never trust a woman who speaks of her real age. A woman who would tell one that would tell one everything. Journalism is unreadable, and literature is unread. Only love can keep anyone alive. The world is divided into two classes: those who believe the incredible and those who do the improbable. Leave us some unreality. Do not make us too offensively sane. To test reality, we must see it on the tightrope. When the verities become acrobats, we can judge them. People never lie so much as before an election, during a war, or after a hunt. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. We live in a wondrous time in which the strong are weak because of their scruples, and the weak grow strong because of their audacity. Man cannot control the current of events. He can only float with them and steer. When you want to fool the world, tell the truth. Preventive war is like committing suicide out of fear of death. Laws are like sausages. It's better not to see them being made. It is the destiny of the weak to be devoured by the strong. Be polite. Write diplomatically. Even in a declaration of war, one observes the rules of politeness. Politics is the art of the possible, the attainable, the art of the next best. Never believe anything in politics until it has been officially denied. Politics is not an exact science. Hounds follow those who feed them. The great questions of the day will not be settled by means of speeches and majority decisions, but by iron and blood. The main thing is to make history, not to write it. Political judgment is the ability to hear the distant hoofbeats of the horse of history. A conquering army on the border will not be stopped by eloquence. Life is like being at the dentist. You always think that the worst is still to come, and yet it is over already. What we learn from history is that no one learns from history. The life of a man is like a game of chess, which he plays according to his art. A rich society must care for the poor. Woe to the leader whose arguments at the end of a war are not as plausible as they were at the beginning. If you want to build socialism, choose a country that you don't care for. Beer makes you lazy, stupid, and powerless. Anyone who has ever looked into the glassy eyes of a soldier dying on the battlefield will think twice before starting a war. Freedom is a luxury that not everyone can afford. One and only one person must be responsible for every assigned task. With bad laws and good officials, it is quite possible to rule the country. But if the officials are bad, even the best laws will not help. Stupidity is a gift from God, but it should not be abused. Life has taught me a lot to forgive, but even more to seek forgiveness. The attitude of the state towards the teacher is a state policy that testifies either to the strength of the state or to its weakness. When the arguments end, the guns begin to speak. Strength is the last argument of a dullard. I was destined by nature to become a diplomat. I was born on the 1st of April. Friendship between a man and a woman is very weak at nightfall. The strong are always right. Never trust Russians, because Russians don't even trust themselves. The government should not hesitate. Once having chosen the road, it must, without looking back, to the right and left, go to the end. We are all a people, and so is the government. A wise person is only one who knows not much, but the necessary. Even a victorious war is an evil that must be averted by the wisdom of the nations. With a gentleman, I am always a gentleman and a half. And with a fraud, I try to be a fraud and a half. Avoid people who try to diminish your ambitions. When you say you agree to a thing in principle, you mean that you have not the slightest intention of carrying it out in practice. Always beware of building castles in the air. These buildings are the easiest to build, but the hardest to destroy. All treaties between great states cease to be binding when they come in conflict with the struggle for existence. Fools say that they learn by experience. I prefer to profit from others' experience. The statesman's task is to hear God's footsteps marching through history and to try to catch on to his coattails as he marches past. Great men have great dogs. A really great man is known by 3 signs: generosity in the design, humanity in the execution, moderation in success. We Germans fear God, but nothing else in the world. A little caution outflanks a large cavalry. My subject is my life, and my life is my subject. I'm accustomed to paying men back in their own coin. Better pointed bullets than pointed speeches. Show me an objective worthy of war, and I will go along with you. Beware of sentimental alliances, where the consciousness of good deeds is the only compensation for noble sacrifices. Appreciate your traitor, because a traitor is the best teacher. The more you think about money, the more you spend it. Avoid a friend who knows everything about you. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought, which they seldom use. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. People understand me so poorly that they don't even understand my complaint about them not understanding me. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? Knowledge is a wealth that cannot be stolen. Once you label me, you negate me. To dare to lose one's footing momentarily, not to dare, is to lose oneself. The tyrant dies, and his rule is over. The martyr dies, and his rule begins. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. I would rather be a swineherd, understood by the swine, than a poet. You must become your enemy. There is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. Treat your men as you would your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. Even the finest sword plunged into salt water will eventually rust. Move swift as the wind and closely formed as the wood. Attack like the fire and be still as the mountain. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. There are not more than 5 musical notes, yet the combinations of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. When the enemy is relaxed, make them toil. When full, starve them. When settled, make them move. Who wishes to fight must first count the cost. If you wait by the river long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float by. Know yourself, and you will win all battles. To win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the acme of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. Build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across. Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Thereby, you can be the director of the opponent's fate. The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy, so that he cannot fathom our real intent. What the ancients called a clever fighter is one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. Rouse him and learn the principle of his activity or inactivity. Force him to reveal himself so as to find out his vulnerable spots. You have to believe in yourself. If the mind is willing, the flesh could go on and on without many things. Thus the expert in battle moves the enemy and is not moved by him. Attack is the secret of defense. Defense is the planning of an attack. Great results can be achieved with small forces. Ponder and deliberate before you make a move. If quick, I survive. If not quick, I am lost. This is death. Ultimate excellence lies not in winning every battle, but in defeating the enemy without ever fighting. If you ignore both, your enemy and yourself, you are certain to be in peril. Move not unless you see an advantage. Use not your troops unless there is something to be gained. Fight not unless the position is critical. Wheels of justice grind slow, but grind fine. It is easy to love your friend, but sometimes the hardest lesson to learn is to love your enemy. If his forces are united, separate them. You can't trust a man who has nothing to lose. Plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. If he sends reinforcements everywhere, he will be weak everywhere. Be where your enemy is not. An enemy is a friend who knows too much about you. Disorder came from order. Fear came from courage. Weakness came from strength. If your friend is friends with your enemy, it means that you should not hang out with this friend. Beware of sugar that is mixed with poison. Beware of the fly that sat on a dead snake. Who does not know the evils of war cannot appreciate its benefits. Therefore, Just as water retains no constant shape, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on them as your own beloved sons. A leader leads by example, not by force. He will win who knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces. In making tactical dispositions, the highest pitch you can attain is to conceal them. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is noise before defeat. The captured soldiers should be kindly treated and kept. One need not destroy one's enemy. One need only destroy his willingness to engage. Every animal with blood in its veins and horns on its head will fight when it is attacked. Never trust a friend who is silent about your flaws.